It feels like forever since we did this last.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
All right, kick us off.
All right. Well, Rook, Perkins, Sax, we are NNK. Team you always want to play with, but never against. Couple updates since we've been going here a little bit. One of them, I want to make a huge shout out to our boy Playboy on NNK. He's going to be in the box with BJ Ware at Cartoon Chaos in November, which is in a few weeks, believe it or not. We are playing the red side, so sign up either way. Play against us, for us. Doesn't matter. Just come have a good time. Another quick shout out is Strikers Game at a brand new field down in where, Texas?
It's near Marlin. I think it starts with an R, but it's closer to Waco.
Yep, and
Waco,
for a lot
Marlin
of
area.
a lot of people out there, you live in the Houston area, you live in San Antonio, you live in Austin. I live in the DFW. It's right in the middle. No excuse not to go. But yeah.
And I think the other thing to note real quick is also because it's a newer field, a lot of people were asking like, hey, what are your thoughts on the field? And I'm like, hey, it's new. It's a great location. So why not, register for the game to help that field grow, right? Because we've been losing a lot of fields, especially in Houston. We lost Petty's closer to Austin. So it's just nice to have another option rather than, playing the same field over and over again. So
yeah, show some love. Everybody has to start out somewhere.
Mm-hmm. All right. So CAX. I know I unfortunately have never had the awesome opportunity to play it. My wife's birthday is on the day, so that is the one weekend out of the year where I am home. So one of these days, if there's a non-December 7th, 8th weekend date, I will definitely come check it out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and add Kyle, the owner of Glory Paintball and creator, producer of CAX. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thank you guys. That's a wicked intro, by the way.
Thank
Sick,
you.
Right? That guy right there. I don't know. He's one of those.
That took a lot of time. That took so much time that I just realized that it says year 3 and December is just around the corner, which means I got to do another one for year 4.
Yeah.
I dabble in some of that 3D editing. That took a while.
Yeah, all the different layers. So it's not just it's just not point and click. So
right.
So tell us about CAX, right? So we understand basically that CAX itself is an abbreviation, right, of combined armed exercise. So tell us what that means and what makes that unique.
All right. So the acronym is actually from a military training event, combined arms exercise. We do it in the Marine Corps. Basically, it's your first, as an infantryman, it's your first real training mission where you'll go out and be with tanks and aircraft and helicopters and artillery, all the things that sort of train independently in the normal train up to deploying. CAX is the big event where it all comes together and they're all working in unison. So the paintball events, what I wanted to, because we had a lot of events in the past, skirmish and some other things we tried, but what I found when I've played events is I get kind of bored playing the same shooter role, no matter what side you choose. It's just, I feel like it's always the same, unless you're going to one of those big events where there are actual tanks and stuff. But you know, those are not the easiest to do regularly. So I said, well, if we're going to do an event, we're going to redo an event here. I want to make this event all about different ways to play so that you're not all just hoppers shooting each other. Our past events were just meat grinders.
I
They
love
sort of
them.
always evolved into that. You're one of the few.
I
There's not
love
enough of you.
them.
I used to say on skirmish, the best part of skirmish was when it was over. If you won, it was like, whew, good times. But man, if you lost, it was just, you just got beat up.
Yeah,
So-
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. I mean, most of the guys, I mean, we've played your field twice. I've commanded twice. And dude, it's a game where I will agree, you're happy when it's over. But you
Yeah.
look at all your guys, I mean, I'm not gonna lie with you. Me and my teammates got in little tiffs because you're just in it. And we
Yeah.
never do. I'm pretty agreeable guy most of the time. And it was just kind of weird. And your field is, I would like to say, I know there's not a lot of us, but your field is built for that. And those are, when I think of CAX, I almost sigh every time because I'm like, man, do I want to do that again? But never regret it when I come. It's crazy. It's in your face, intense, and it's not for everybody. It's not for the faint of heart.
So that's where I'll stop you. So that was the case. CAX had a bunch of different versions of it. I mean, we're on CAX 9 now over the course of what, 5 years. So yeah, we've done quite a few of these. CAX has sort of this wandering identity because our field changed. I mean, when we started CAX, none of the shipping containers were here. It was like wooden buildings. We had the beach landing. The first CAX was on our beach landing field where you had to low crawl the entire length of the field with machine gun nests shooting over your head. You can see videos of that on YouTube. So COVID hit, we bulldozed the entire field. The only thing that's still out there is the 2-story kill house. We bring in the shipping containers. We try to bring back CAX after that transition without missing too much of a beat. And CAX had to adapt with the field. And that was hard because all of a sudden our field in a matter of 6 months goes from this 2D wooden building field to 56 shipping containers stacked two stories high. Right? So the game we wrote didn't work anymore. And we sort of struggled to find how to make it work in the new facility without having to just stop for years and redesign it all. And what happened is it was a meat grinder. People just got annihilated on it, especially with all the new windows I mean, there were just so many places to shoot from where it was really hard to get shot out of. And that just sort of devolved. They ended in fist fights and it was red v blue, 2 factions, meat grinder. This is not that. We're keeping the same name because actually the version we have now is more CAX, multiple roles, than the earlier. So 2 events ago, to sum this up, it just ends in one side losing their mind because they're just getting stomped on. We ended up calling the event early. I swore I'd never do another one. I was just fed up with it. We took a year off and we said, let's just focus on finishing all the construction. Because that was the hard part, is we'd run these events and we were in the middle of welding and cutting hundreds of doors and windows. Like if you came to the events, you saw me welding shit for the event 30 minutes into the event. Like I think that event, we wheeled the vehicles out, I think 30 minutes after the game had started because I hadn't finished building. Right. Wow. And I built those vehicles myself out of scrap metal and wood. I mean, it was an insane amount of work trying to make that happen while running the event. So we took a year off, we finished the field. And then even though I swore I'd never do another one, I was like, what if? So we took 6 months and we put every single negative thing from every review we've ever gotten on the dry erase board. And we went through all of them. I mean, 100 times over. I mean, there's not a part of that game that didn't get broken apart and rebuilt 100 times over. And what we came up with, just to sort of wrap this up, is 3 factions. Red v blue is binary. It's our current political system, right? It's I'm right, you're wrong. There can be no middle ground. One of us has to be defeated. But you put a third party in the middle there, properly done. And now there's a buffer. Red can't just sprint to blue and screw them up in their base. They They have to get. Thank you. That was hard for me. You have to get through the civilians, and the civilian role we built from the ground up. I wrote a computer program that runs the whole thing. Literally, the Bank of Buckmaster computer program, actual hard coding, Excel VBA. All of the transactions in the game are digital, so there's no keeping bottle caps or trying to remember how much Monopoly money you have. It's all run through a central bank.
Cool.
And that's also how you move weapons around. You can pay the civilian faction. The civilian faction starts out basically unarmed, and then they use the funds they accrue to arm themselves. So it's a really cool thing. We did the first of this version last year, and we got nothing but 4- and 5-star reviews. That's the first time that's ever happened. It didn't end in a fist fight. It ended in people hugging each other. It's the best event we've ever run. So this is the second of that, even though it's CAX not.
So with the upbringing of this, not necessarily a third faction, because you say, it's the civilians, right? But in their own way, are they earning points outside of just being that buffer?
So the civilian faction, basically what we said is, okay, you're going to have the players that want to, like the Louis, right? They want to just grind. They want to fight. They want to win. They really care about the points. But you have this whole other group of people that came to those past events that just wanted to have fun. And it's like they didn't really have that option. The civilian faction is actually 12 different smaller factions. Okay. So it's the third faction of civilians. They're broken up into 12 families of Buckmaster. We have artwork and names for all of them and all that. But basically, when you arrive, you get divvied up into a small little group of 3 to 4 family members. Okay. You get your ID card that has your background on it, and you get assigned an actual home in the field. The last CAX, we had people actually living in the field. They brought their TVs, hammocks, and tents. They went into their homes. They put in scented candles. They booby-trapped their houses. I mean, to be fair, the real winners of the last CAX wasn't red or blue. It was the Murphy family, who somehow managed to accrue more money, starting out with $200. They ended the event with $7,500, Buckmaster bucks. And they had more arms than both factions left at the end of the game. They can't win, technically. Okay. If you're looking at the Hall of Victory. Right. But they can win. I mean, they stole both factions gold, and they built a throne out of the gold bricks. It was wild, man. They do have their own awards if they can win.
Okay.
But yeah. Okay.
Awesome. So if you were to elevator pitch red, blue, and civilians, how would you sell this game to me for each what I want to sign up for
each faction? Yeah. In its current version, red and blue are pretty much the same thing. Our goal is to differentiate them over time so that the rebels have more rebel assets to use. Okay. And the military faction blue feels more government funded. But as of right now, they both have the same roles: machine gunners, riflemen, marksmen, all that. Okay. The civilian faction is the one that differs. The elevator pitch for the factions, the military factions, would be if you want to come and play a very competitive game, that we, on top of everything else, took the time to basically write out a procedure for commanding. Right? Okay. So you come in, you have a terrain model of the field in your base. Cool. You get all the missions up front. The missions are simplified. Saturday, the gameplay is 45 minutes of game, 1 hour of planning and debrief, because that's what CAX is, actual CAX. It's an exercise. That's what the X is, right? So you go and do an event, you come back and you go, ooh, that didn't go so well. How do we do better on the next one? And it creates a buffer so that if you start getting, your Johnson pummeled into the ground, it's not an all-day thing. It's a forced recovery, right? There's a reset. You get to adapt. Okay. Versus past events where once you had that morale drop, it just continued. Right. And then the civilian faction is just this wild thing. There's literally an entire separate game in CAX that is the civilian role. They can smuggle their own weapons. They can booby trap their houses. They can do any missions they want. They can sell intel, plant bombs. They can assassinate people. And on top of all that, there are also 12 separate families that are incentivized to kill each other. Nice. The whole point of that was to not have a third faction that was just OP and became just this, like most events, the third faction is just another faction. Right. In this,
Or
you're not
it's a,
fighting
like
all
you
the
said, a
families.
buffer. Or a lot
Yeah.
of the time I've seen producers use a third faction to help one side over the other to kind of
Even the
I don't
game
want to say
out.
sway the game, but sway the game.
And that's
Or
hard to
even it
do.
out.
It does happen, and it did happen at the last event. But to be fair, that's because Hosey on Red side went bankrupt with his money and was cashing hot checks to the civilians. And I think the last game, they were like, "What do you mean? This $50,000 check isn't valid?" I'm like, "There's not even $50,000 in the game." I was like, "Dude, he's. I'm sorry." So his check started bouncing, and the entire civilian faction got together and decided we're just going to go fight for blue and just monkey stomped red.
Oh,
But
geez.
that took Sunday afternoon for that to happen, because the entire Saturday, Sunday morning, all the civilians are still fighting and killing each other. They get points for killing each other as well. There's revenge killings. I tried to make as much of Iraq as I could in the game and have it still be fun.
Very cool. Let's take a quick break. Are there any comments or anything that Rick you want to address?
Let me look real quick. Got a bunch of howdies. I didn't get shot out at CAX at the last CAX once. That's
How is that
bold.
possible?
That's bold. Stealing vehicles was fun. Stealing vehicles is always fun. Unfortunately, when I played and commanded CAX, I didn't know. I felt kind of bad, but Kyle originally had us have these stencils with spray paint to control the field. And it was a bad idea. I don't know why you gave it to us, spray paint to us, but we ended up getting on the enemy's vehicle and just spray painting our symbol in like on the hood of it over and over and over again on the doors. And then he was like, "I gotta paint that later." I was like, feel kind of
Yeah, I
bad
appreciate
about that
that.
one. My bad, dude. It was hey, I had fun. I had fun. It was great.
Yeah, that's good.
Better than most banks. Civvies were scary. I agree. I think that's what I'm really excited for to see. Like I said, I've commanded 2, and this third faction thing seems like it's gonna be a lot of fun for a lot of people, especially me. Red brutalized the civvies. We robbed Hosey at the start of round 1, all of it. They posted no guard. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I've got no questions in here. It looks like we got some people that played is all I see in here.
Okay. All right. So let's take a look at so this was taken back in 2023, but Kyle mentioned this really hasn't been much of a change. So since I personally haven't been to this field, is there any like on-site camping? Like what's the parking situation?
So I'd say the externally, like from satellite view, you're not going to notice much of a change. There are a ton of changes that have happened inside the buildings. That's what we've been focusing on.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then,
as far as on-site camping, the swales we have on the left, right, and rear of the property, those are 22 feet wide.
Okay.
And stay fairly dry. So there's on-site camping there. The blue awning on the bottom left, that is actually that is a new feature from the new CAX. All cots are provided. All lodging is provided. Dinner Saturday night is provided, and a movie. Sunday morning we have the Warriors breakfast, which is a full-blown buffet breakfast. It's part of our all-inclusive ticket, which is how this event runs. But basically, under that blue awning, Saturday night, you have hot showers, you have cots, and the whole idea there is to try to get people not coming in from out of town, not spend money on lodging, and instead just stay here, enjoy we have unlimited hot water, get cleaned up, there's shower stalls, and then grab a cot. It's just like it is in the military. End of a training event, everybody's together, bonding. And that is sort of part of the idea of play the event hard, play to win, but in those breaks, we're like forcing you to shake hands and be friends. Because in the past, the way our field's built, you have red on one side, blue on the other, and they never speak to each other. And so whole events devolve into this little echo chamber of everyone's cheating, which is not true, by the way. I've played the event. The people that are screaming cheaters more often than not are the ones doing the cheating, which is irritating. But yeah, so there is plenty of camping.
Okay.
And we have
Well, you mentioned kind of this all-inclusive concept. So I know a lot of times, when pricing for any kind of event comes up, in our heads, we're thinking, okay, what's the value here? What am I getting? And so, there's a lot of like sticker shock when we see, the $300, price tag. So explain more about what's included in the all-inclusive
Okay.
pricing.
Literally everything you need. More ammo than you could possibly shoot. I think at the last event had the Enola Gay grenade situation where it got banned, not been the case. We were going to have 420 hand grenades, pretty evenly split between both sides. Tons of smoke bombs. Like I said, lodging, cots don't cost anything. The whole concept was leave your wallet at home, pay the deposit months out, pay the remaining a month out, and then literally show up and you don't owe us a dime. The only thing possibly spend money on is like concessions if you want that, but there's nothing for sale. You can't buy more ammo. If your side runs out, you're out of ammo, right? And that's on the commanders, which gives this cool logistics part. They have to allot ammo per mission, and they have to make sure they have enough for Sunday because Sunday's the big events. Like I said, we do dinner and a movie Saturday night. Hot showers are free. Sunday morning is a huge breakfast. It's all inclusive, man. Anything you might need for an event is already there.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I think that better explains, because obviously when people see $300, they're thinking just the registration, and they're like, well, what about paint? And then, what in terms of, since you've commanded, twice before, have you felt both in the quote unquote box, the allotment of paint, have you had issues where you feel like you don't have enough or you have too much, or, what's...
So this is one of the changes that I was excited for once I heard about this. So when I commanded, you bought your own paint, and that field you go through paint. You guys are fighting in small hallways. You guys are fighting on stairwells. You guys are fighting in the kill house. I mean, to clear a corner, you gotta put some paint on, and it's not a easy task to do when you're in these containers, and how loud it is and how close it is. It's a little scary, to be honest with you. Kill house is scary, but it's just there's nothing else like it. But that's one of the other things I got excited for this game. The logistical standpoint of it, one of the biggest things I think my favorite part about commanding it was it's actually two reasons. It's a field command position. So you're not in a box on radios telling people whatever. I mean, there's a picture out there of me where I put a pod pack upside down and I had like 6 radios in front of me, and I'm walking down the field talking, and then next thing I know, you got shot by a tank. Like it's just craziness at all the times. But also the fact that it is how Kyle said, it's an exercise. Anybody that played for me knew that I was out there, little iPad with squads going different directions down to the minute. You got to watch. Boom. This is when we're hitting this. This is when we're doing this. This is when we're doing this. At night game, I actually went to Kyle before the other side quit, and I was about to give him a timing of when I needed him to turn the lights on and off, down to the minute. Everybody knew what the plan was, and I think here is the only place I really got to get that involved in, and that's the aspect of commanding that I personally like, is that I'm down to the detail, down to the minute, down to the second, and everybody has to work perfectly aligned to achieve this goal. And I think that's one of the reasons I liked CAX so much, and shutting those other teams out, because that means the plan worked. That means the demoralization since day one worked. That means the ass whooping all the way back worked. That means letting them out just a little bit and then pushing them back worked. It all worked. And the teams I had were the guys that like to win, right? And there's some guys in there that I didn't know at the time, and now we know them, like the Kingsmen. I had no idea who they were. Got like 4 other guys there, and I got to play people to where they wanted to play. They brought mag-fed guns, so I put them in little sniper nests in different corners to watch different angles. I had the Night Stalkers there and us there, door kickers. You know what I mean? They like to get in the shit and figure it out. But I think this game here specifically is one of my favorites to command because of the atrocities that happen, the intensity, and I'm really excited to see what comes next. Because everything I know thus far of CAX is changing. The logistical standpoint, I think it's cool. You know what I mean? Like I get to play with numbers now and really dive into more planning. The third faction, that's going to be interesting. Like it's going to be, hey, how sweet do I treat you, or how bad do I treat you? Like I can treat people real bad. I got some things in here I got to figure out. But I'm excited. I saw some of the pictures that are hilarious. Phocian's really just living it up, and I
That was
just
the Murphy
and Leighton too.
yeah, and they're
Leighton.
just hilarious, and just all the pictures, and I mean, he's been living it up since the whole thing got announced. He said, "Welcome to the neighborhood." Like, I'm excited for that, right? It's like a character of the game, like a weird, bad guy in the background. But anyways,
I do feel
yeah,
like we need to keep reiterating how different this version is. The last
yes.
event, while like every part of what CAX was got field stripped, taken apart, and rebuilt.
Yep.
Everything.
So that's
So
why I'm coming in here, and it's
yeah,
brand new to me. It's brand
I'm
new to
excited
me,
for you
and
to see it. I think you're going to like it a whole lot more than what we've had in the past.
I have a great time either way.
So
Gonna be
speaking
awesome.
of past events and kind of the evolution of CAX, I think one of the questions I had personally, one as a player and two as a producer, is looking at the point system, or like basically the total points per game. So we see like say the winning side and the losing side, so 75 12, 63 15, and then from CAX 3 to 4. Now I know Rook is awesome in the box with 826 versus 60. So my question is, were there more missions that were added? Did the point values increase going from, say, a typical like 75-point game versus 826?
So between CAX 3 and CAX 4, that's where we bulldoze the field, just after CAX 3.
Okay.
So CAX 4 2021, that is the first event played on the shipping container field.
Okay.
And we had so much more playable space. We added
Okay.
a lot more objectives.
Cool.
Now, like I said, if you're looking at these old scorecards, again, you can look at the different scores and see who won. And the game itself is not, the mechanics of the game are different. We've changed everything and tried to make it be as smooth as possible. But the overall thrust of the game, like the invasion game, where you have one side starts in a defensive position right outside your fob, and you have to fight to push them back. That invasion has been a staple of the event pretty much since its inception, and it is worth the most points. This new version, like I said, on Saturday, you have 45-minute games that are all worth their own points, compartmentalized, and a lot of them. And to the point on the all-inclusive ticket, I think is the most important, By doing an all-inclusive ticket, which we're sort of forced to be different because of just the way our field is. I can't fit 4,000 people out here, and I can't charge $20 admissions. It's going to be a premium game. So I've got to have a premium experience, right? And with an all-inclusive ticket, I no longer have to worry about, are you buying paint? Are we making enough money as a business? I know how much money I'm making for the event a month out, which allows me to go, cool. So I don't need to write games that force you to just dump hoppers of paint so I can make my nut, right? I'm already paid. I can write games that are just awesome. Like at the last event, the engineer on blue side had to clear a mine route, which, we didn't get the mines we wanted, so we had to use 550 cord and padlocks, but he's belly crawling through open fields surrounded by civilian snipers, by enemy marksmen, undoing these padlocks and clearing the IED so the vehicle can roll through. And we daisy chained them all with 550 cord. So you'd find one lock, and then you had to follow the 550 cord to the next bomb and then undo that one. And there was 3, 4, 5, 6 daisy chains.
Jeez, that's cool.
And you can write games like that because you're no longer worried about trying to get everybody to just shoot.
Right.
Which I think is cool.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So since you said, a month out, so I'm assuming that's when your registration closes as well, to give you that time.
For the red and blue factions, yes.
Okay. And then what about civilians?
Civilians is a week out because another feature of CAX is all 3 of the factions have different colored paint.
Okay.
So you can tell who shot who, and you can tell who gets shot by a friendly.
Nice.
So the civilians use our regular field paint color, and we don't need to reserve it ahead of time.
Okay, cool.
Speaking of that, November 7th, right?
Correct. November 7th is the cutoff for the red and blue tickets.
Everybody, November 7th. So get signed up red, get signed up blue. Just get signed up. It's going to be a great time.
Yep.
Player
and I do want to make sure that we sort of hammer on the people that have played past CAXs that didn't come to the last event, because we only had 50-something players at the last event. So I individually text messaged every single CAX player. So that text message you got from Glory, that was literally me at the airport before my vacation for hours. But there's 200-something people there. It's like 268 texts that I had to send. And only 50 were at the last event. So there's a large group of people that have played a previous CAX that have an opinion of it, that they need to give it another shot. It is a completely different game, as far as I can tell, all in a much better way.
Awesome. I mean, I heard a lot of great things from both sides, having won or lost, that the experience itself was a lot of fun. Um, and the game, obviously, the best way I can put this is, knocks you down in, more than just one way, right? Mentally, physically, emotionally, right? That's what the game is built for. So,
It's a thinking game now. It's not just a shootout.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm
brains and the
telling you,
brawn.
I'm excited. Once I'm gonna be real with you, Kyle. Once I heard, so some of the biggest fucking crybabies on my team played your game and they loved it. I was like, oh shit, he's on to something now.
Oh,
Like,
from
you know what I mean?
the last version?
From the last version.
Yeah, we
And
had a
so I
couple of
was,
them.
yeah, and I was like, okay, he usually he knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Um, but he usually finds something to complain about. And this man had nothing bad to say. And I was
that
like,
makes
holy
me
shit.
so happy.
I was like, holy shit, I might have to go. Like now this has to be a thing because
Yeah,
I am telling you, it could be a beautiful, bright day on the beach, best food in the world, and this motherfucker's gonna complain about sand in his toes. That's
yeah,
that guy. And he came back and dude, he had nothing but praise. And I was like, whoa. Then I talked to Hosanna a little bit about the gameplay mechanics and then all the crazy pictures and just the stuff that
yeah.
comes after it. But in this chat, real quick, we got Alan's actually in here, Mr. Camo himself. What up,
Yeah.
dog? If you're still in here.
What's up, dude?
Zoe saying hi, Kyle. Or no, she's not saying hi, she's just saying your name. Is there a player cap on this game? Is one of the questions in the chat.
Yes. We may increase it a little bit. We're in the middle of some construction, adding more staircases. But as of right now, it's 24 players for each faction. As we add more upstairs routes that aren't those crawl spaces that we did years ago, we'll increase the numbers. But right
Okay.
now, the total cap for the event is 74, 24 players, 22, whatever. It's 20 something players per faction. But also on that, you also have roles in each faction. Like there's only, I think, 3 marksmen per faction. You only get so many machine gunners. All the roles are kit restricted, and we have a template that the refs have on hand. It's very well enforced, especially after the last event where we did get a little out of hand because we had some refs having to play to fill the civilian roles.
Look at them.
Yeah, but you need to look at the kit restrictions. They're simple, but they make a huge difference because ammo is the number one thing that we're using to enforce rules, right? Machine gunner can carry as much as he wants. Rifleman can only carry 2 pods, which forces you to use the supplied backpack system we have. There's a lot to it, but once you play it, you're like, oh, this is smooth.
Cool. I mean, I normally run first strikes, even in an open class event, right? So that would be an interesting point for me is if it's a marksman, right? What is my paint allocation for the event that I have to, think about how many mags can I fill per mission?
I forget the numbers, but the marksmen are the only ones allowed to shoot first strike.
Right.
And I believe they get a couple hundred rounds of first strikes each.
Okay.
So we top you off pretty good. We obviously don't want marksmen with box mags that, just have really good paying jobs that are sitting there dumping, first strike rounds, so that you do have a limit. And I think at the end of the event, the marksmen were running out and having to switch to round ball. But that's the idea. Guard the objectives. You're not a frontline soldier. You're area denial.
Right. That's a good way of thinking about it too.
You also have on the website under the player roles, you also have playing the role, which sort of gives you some insight into how that role works in real life and what that role's actual job is. Like I said, as we get more CAXs under our belt under this format, we are going to put more emphasis on making the roles feel more different with special kit. We're working on small objects and gadgets that each kit can use independently.
I got a request right here in the chat, and it's kind of my request too. Mr. Camo, Mr. Allen said, we want rain for the night game. I heard about last year's night game, and
it was intense. I don't know that I can
make that happen, Kyle.
I mean,
God damn it.
50-50, right? But yeah, we had rolling blackouts at the last night game. A storm rolled in. I was so upset because I thought we're not going to get to do this night game that I have been trying to get to work for years, but everybody's so worn out in the past events, they want to go home. So we're like, is everybody staying? And we had a good crew staying. I was like, okay, we're going to do this. Fuck it. Like, I don't care if there's thunder, lightning storm. We're going to do this. And then as lightning was striking, I was like, oh, this would be a good time for the blackout. So that it would strike, thunder, flash, and then you'd have the lights just go, and they'd stay off for about a minute, and then they would slowly start to come back on.
That's
and
cool.
Eventually, I had to run out there to help ref it, and I mean, it was just downpour, and the lights would go off, and just like, and the lights would come back on, and just all hell would break loose. It was pretty
Love
cool.
it.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's awesome.
I'm sad I missed that.
Man, that sounds so cool. So earlier you're talking about missions being, 45 minutes. So is there a differentiation between Saturday and Sunday? Because I know a lot of the longer scenarios, the 2-day, 26-hour games, normally there's like a final battle. So how is your Sunday set up?
All right. So yeah, Saturday, like I said, are 45-minute missions. All the missions you can see on our website right now. It doesn't give you super detail because we want to save that for the commanders, but it does give you a gist of what each mission is.
Okay.
They are basically an attack, defend. Next mission, some completely different scenario, but attack, defend. They all have their own objective: finding bomb makers, detonating things, getting a vehicle. I mean, we put some thought into them.
Cool. Sunday
is Invasion A and Invasion B. So Sunday is that meat grinder that people do like, with the difference being that you have this civilian faction in the city. So Rook will he'll understand this. The game used to be red side, blue side, nothing in the middle. 3, 2, 1, go. Everybody sprints to the center of the field, shootout. Right? I mean, you're shooting midfield in 10 seconds. They tried that in the first mission of this last event, even though I warned them so many times. And it went 3, 2, 1, go. Ha, oh my God, there's people here. Like, and they're armed. Oh no. They had casualties in the first couple of seconds just trying to run through people's homes. And the civilians are allowed to be armed in their home. You have to announce yourself. It's a whole thing. You can detain civilians, all this stuff. So it really slowed the game down. I don't think anybody got on either faction to midfield for like the first 5 minutes of the game. It's only a 2-acre field, right?
Yeah.
It's built up, but it's not that long to get there. So Sunday is Invasion A. One side tries to fight the defenders right outside their base and score as many points as they can. We have a really sweet flag control system that I built for the last event. Engineer goes in, cranks it, flags tip up. That's red, cool. V, blue. It's pretty sweet.
Awesome.
So that's Sunday. And then when that ends, we do have a final battle. It's not worth a lot of points. It's really just if you got a ton of smoke and ammo left and you don't want to take it home, it's already paid for. Just go nuts, man.
Yeah.
So my next question had to do with, I'm trying to think, you said something. So with having the missions posted online, is that something new, or is that something that you've normally done each CAX leading up to this?
That is something I've promised to do in previous CAXs, but would always run out of time, and I would always we want to keep it secret so you can't prepare. I just didn't have it written. Okay. So like night before CAX, years ago, I would be writing the missions that night. Like, oh my God, this is chaos. These missions were thought up a year before we did the last event. And then we ran them in this last event. We saw a few things we wanted to tweak. We're going to run basically those same missions this time, so that you're going to get a mission that is pretty well. I mean, they all ran pretty well, surprisingly. But they're a little more refined now too.
Awesome.
I will say I do like the thought and the tactileness of the props you do make. I was talking about that. I was an engineer. I don't remember what we're doing. I think it was arming a bomb. We're doing something. And you gave me this socket or this wrench with a socket welded onto it. It's giant. It's like 20 pounds. It's giant. I'm like, craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And I have to go to an open field and make sure that I'm covered by my team. And I have to undo these, I think it was 4 bolts, maybe, or 2 bolts. I can't remember.
3 bolts, yeah.
3 bolts. And I was like, wow. And I'm like, holy shit. Wow. I'm like, it's still not coming out. And I went forever. I'm sitting there dripping sweat over this fucking thing. And I'm getting shot at. And it's just crazy. But I'm excited to see more of that. I want to see this pulley system you got going on. I'm sure it's the same tool, is it not? That socket,
the engineer tool. We do still have that tool, but you don't really use it much. It is the same tool we use. So the flag control system we built does have a crank on it, but you can also detach that crank for missions, and the socket that is inside is specially sized with the engineer tool. So for those missions, the only one that can do the flag is the engineer.
That's cool.
And it has a time gear set in it, so you can make the flag faster or slower depending on how long you want it to take to capture. It's all
Nice.
mechanical. I hate
Yeah.
electronic.
Yeah, I mean, like everything from the parapets. Once I figured out how to use those, they were sick. And then the shields they're heavy. They're not easily plastic moved around.
Like 15 pounds.
Yo, when you're doing your thing in there, it's a little longer, Kyle. Not all of
rent
us
them
like
to
to hang
kids
out.
for regular
Not all of
play.
us like to hang out in the back, Kyle. Okay.
Fair enough.
I mean, well, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
anyways, but no, most of the stuff there is just very I don't know. It doesn't feel like a toy. Like it's just fun, and you could beat it up. You don't feel bad about it. I mean, I seen Squirrel slam that shit up against windows, and just it's just a great time. I'm excited for it.
And then
I
you
got
go
in-
home, and I spend a week with pry bars trying to bend stuff.
Yes,
back
and
in
that's my
shape and
favorite
re-weld them.
part.
How did they
It's a-
break this? I used 6011 welding rods.
It's a toy at that point. It's just like, can we break it? That's
You
the
are
goal.
referencing a bunch of stuff we built absolute last minute with scrap metal.
True.
The fact that you're getting that much enjoyment out of it makes me go, oh man, wait until you see the next version.
Yeah, I mean, like even the cars. I remember we played bumper cars with those damn things. It was so much fun. And then in the original CAX, the first one, we used to clear out the cars by opening the doors and just fucking wrecking everybody in there. But now there's the pulley system, which is even cooler, and it just sends off a big. I don't know what's in there, but there's a lot of bang.
Enola Gay Flash 3.0s that are in 2 pipes on either side of the vehicle. So to blow it up, you just have to run to it and yank the cord, and it'll detonate and shoot it.
And that's just such a rush to run up to one when they can kind of see you. It's a great time. I got in here saying, oh yeah, maybe talk a little bit how civilian rules work in regards to carrying weapons, justified shootings. In my opinion, I've the math on it. If I can afford it, it's justified. You got a gun or not, buddy? Yeah,
it is. Part of that 6 months was like 2 months of writing the manual for the civilians. It's intricate, and if you look at it at first, you're like, "Oh my god, this is so much information." But I drew pictures for every single thing. There's custom artwork for everything that explains how it works, and we try to really simplify the ROEs as best we can. It's basically, which this kind of blew my mind at the last event because the ROEs are pretty straightforward. If a civilian is armed in the street, civilians are all wearing white shirts. They have to wear a white T-shirt. They can't be armed in any way out in public. Inside their homes, they can wear whatever they want, as long as they're still wearing their white shirt. But out in the street, if they have a gun, shoot them. The ROE could not be more straightforward. However, at the last CAX, faction players were just, I guess, so worried about getting point docs because they didn't read the rule book. Shocking. So civilians like walking around with guns, and they're like, "Can I shoot them?" I'm like, "Read the manual, bro." Yeah, I couldn't have been more clear. I even said it twice during the briefing. Yes, shoot them. But they allowed the civilians to walk around armed, and the civilians really wound up just messing people's days up. Which, to be fair, they start off, like I said, with about $200, which is enough money for a family of 4 to buy about 300 paintballs total.
That's not a lot.
That's all they start with, and the only way they make money is killing each other and robbing each other, or robbing a faction or doing stuff for the factions. But factions didn't guard their stockpile of gold, and the civilians stole all of Hosey's gold in the first game, half of Blue's. So in the first game, they had this huge influx of cash that, mind you, goes to one family. And that one family was like, what will you do for me, Tanaka family? Yeah. We're going to keep all the gold. So one family of all the families, 4 people out of the whole event of 50-something, $7,500 at the end of the event. It started with $200. Yeah, both awesome. Hosey's family was bankrupt, or Hosey's faction was bankrupt, and Jake, Glory Invictus, I think he had $300 left. So one family out of all of the civilians hoarded. They got the warlord and the war profiteer.
I believe that. And that was I think we talked about it, Kyle. Originally, my interest of the game was for the civilians because it's just such a heinous role that you could just do whatever you want. And there's like not a lot of games do that, right? And like I generally err on the side of just a bad guy. Like I like to make people's day hard.
You'd make a great civilian. If I didn't need a commander so bad, I would have just said be a civilian. You'll love it.
I would have, I mean, I looked at, and the artwork's fun. The little videos that came out. I mean, all of it's just a lot of fun. And the assassinations. Like I would love just to talk to you and then just stab you and then see your face. Right? Like it's just so much fun. I'm so jealous that I don't get to be a civilian because I would just be awful to everybody.
Help me grow this event. And then next event, I won't need you as a commander, and you can be a civilian.
You know, Kyle, I think we're on to something here. I think we're on to something.
You know,
Look, I'll build it. You guys just help me sell it. That's all I need.
I'm not gonna lie. When Kyle was talking about the Civi manual and I have all the illustrations, all I could
That's
think
so
of
awesome.
is Kyle making a literally a pop-up book for the civilians to understand this
It is
giant manual.
basically that. It's cartoons on how the game works.
I just
And I
picture
like
Kyle.
100 of them. It took me forever to draw.
I picture Kyle at like a desk, like a wooden desk with a lamp over it, and just drawing stuff and giggling at all of his little pictures in the middle of the night.
It was
That's
more
what I
fighting hand cramps. I was like, I swear to God, if people don't come to this. Yeah.
In the
So-
chat real quick. Sorry, in the chat real quick. We got
Yep.
we got some what's up from Gage. George said he was stabbed. Dude, that sucks. That sucks. I would that's a memory.
Yeah, so
That probably happened.
and the civilians, in order to commit a revenge killing and steal another civilian's bracelet, it's a specific target you get during the start of the game, but you have to do it with a knife.
That's
You can't
awesome.
shoot them. So you have to,
Awesome.
and there's fun artwork on the website explaining it, but you have to knife them and then whisper revenge. And then you cash in. It's worth a lot of money, and then you get to steal their money on top of all that.
I love
Nice.
it. Mr. Squirrel himself said he said yo.
with
Mr.
smiley face.
Yeah, Coach said maybe I should play civilian and rob Rook and Philip Ramirez. Dude, you're too big to rob anybody. I just smoke your ass, bro. I'm sorry, Coach. That ain't happening.
They're both pretty quick.
Coach?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he commanded. I
I
saw
know.
him out there running. I mean, you don't need to sprint 100 yards at
This is
glory.
true.
You-
This is
Container to
true.
container.
I
You
get
speed
scared.
walk.
I get scared when those guys run at me. Who's gonna stop them? All right, what else we got? Got you, Coach. Got you.
So with registration closing a month out, if someone misses that deadline, what's possible?
So this is a good question, actually, and it kind of comes back to the ticket price too. You got to reserve before the deadline, right? We go through Core Outdoor GI Sports because we're ordering different colored paintballs for everybody. That order has to be in to be safe 4 weeks out, right? We pushed it back 1 or 2 weeks, and thank God Greg Pauly at Core Outdoor GI Sports, I don't forget which company he's actually working for. It's all the same company, but he managed to get us the paint at the last minute. But we kept pushing reservations back. It was the first of this new format, so we were trying to give people as much leeway as we could. But if you are this event, if you are not reserved by November 7th, your only option is to play civilian, which is not a bad option. It's a cheaper ticket. It's a completely different game. It's a lot of fun, but you're not going to get to play for red or blue. You're not going to get the just cornucopia of hand grenades and smoke bombs. You're going to have to earn everything that you're able to use in the game using in-game currency.
Okay.
So if you want to just go crazy at CAX with more ammo than you could possibly throw or shoot, you need to be on red or blue. We need bodies on blue right now, so choose blue.
Nah. 7
7
days,
days,
guys.
Glory Invictus is
Technicality.
one victory.
7 days, guys. That's what you get. 7 days. Lock it in on red.
And then
only.
on that ticket price, which I know people, they look at 300 and in their heads they're going $300. That's insane. It's like, dude, 150 of that is just your ammo allotment. That's before we pay payroll, buy food, propane for the hot showers, all the other stuff that we spend money on. I mean, this thing has a profit margin of like 20%. All the rest of that is what you're getting. It is a ridiculous amount. And we still had ammo left over after the last event, like 14, 15 cases.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, you get a lot for your money. And I think everybody that came to the last event would attest to that.
Yeah,
I think that's like
what
I was
heard.
mentioning earlier, that sticker shock when they see 300, they're just used to, the mainstream, like say Viper Game or Trifecta, like just it's a completely all-inclusive concept.
We have to be different because of the facility. We've tried doing regular type events. We've tried being a regular priced field. You can't do that with the facility we have. It's a very small space. It's limited parking. The field itself you guys know, the field is intense and extremely expensive to build. But we have to be creative with how we do our pricing. And believe me, I got plenty of people that were like, why are you reinventing the wheel? Just charge $65 admission and then charge $90 cases. And I went, the number one thing I saw at all of our past events was people just being shot to death, sweating their balls off, dying because of how you think about this. If you go to the TXR event years ago, the Star Wars one that I went to, it's like 1,100 players on 60 something acres. Glory has almost 3 times the number of players per acre with a 75 person game. Right? So if there's 60 acres, who cares about the numbers? You're not really seeing people every minute. The moment you spawn at Glory, there's an enemy player within shooting distance of you. Right? Now, we have slowed gameplay down dramatically. It is not a meat grinder, right? The Sunday invasion games notwithstanding, but Saturday, you're going to go, this is a much slower paced game. You don't just immediately bump into the enemy factions. You're dealing with civilians with their hands up, and you have to navigate that very intense path. But we had to come up with a way to make enough money to do the event, because I'm not doing it as charity anymore. But also making sure people get their money's worth. So,
right. I mean, as a newer producer myself, like I didn't realize how much stuff cost the first go around. You know, you make a budget and you're like this and that, and then ended up going in the negative. And so I'm like,
yeah,
that's
mini event was at a loss out here. Hell, just those cheap vinyl banners you buy. It's like $40-$50 right there just for some shitty vinyl banners. Right, like everything's gone up in cost, and we can't.
I wouldn't say they're shitty vinyl banners, but they are vinyl banners. The
ones I'm buying are bottom dollar from China, man.
Oh, I
Same
know.
artwork as last event. I just changed the 2023 to 2020.
Bro, they don't even got grommets in them, dog. Glory is what CAX is. I think smaller games at a premium for a premium game is the way it needs to be marketed, because you can't compare it to anything else. Anytime everybody asks me about it, I just I don't really know what to say or how to explain it. It's like a trauma response. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
I mean, if I was better at marketing, I would have solved it, but I'm clearly not. So I have had that problem for 15 years now.
Yep. So like Damon right now in the chat, he said, "Thank you from all the fat, short, old, non-Olympic high jumpers for all the new stairs."
We had to build him staircase platforms.
No,
so
okay, hold on.
Little legs
Hold
into
on.
the container.
These fucking things are like 4 foot high. I have the supply backpack on with 6 tanks, shitload of paint, and fucking pod pack with all sorts of bullshit, dude. And I'm trying to climb in these motherfuckers, not getting shin splints jumping out the bitch. It's crazy.
But we
got stairs now.
Most of the buildings have a staircase leading to the doorway now.
Yes,
so. And we will build more. It just everything costs money.
Yeah,
and time.
But I will say, Kyle makes good on his word. Might take him a little bit to do it, but he built us stairs. But that's all the little nuances from that field that I think of and I laugh about. You know, I got memories like, you know, dying, running in. I roll my fat ass in there. Okay, we got 8 dead people. I roll my fat ass out, and we get going again. Like those are the things I think of. And in my head, for the most part, it's just good memories there.
Well, I just got a notification that where the streaming service is having a hard time connecting to Facebook, but yeah, because I just watched our view count just drop. So if you guys are watching, if you might want to switch over to YouTube, even though we're pretty much almost finishing up here, but just to confirm,
can they access this after we're done? Like they can
yes, everything is still available both on Facebook technically, and then YouTube as well.
Yeah, so, it dropped on Facebook for me.
Yeah,
we're on everything, and once it's up, it'll be on there. But I think we might finish this out.
So before I forget, let's go ahead and give a shout out real quick to our sponsors real quick.
Yes, Paintball Gateway, specifically Arlington here in DFW. Anything you need, they got. John's a real nice guy, takes care of you. And man, they keep us on the field, and I can't tell you how many times we've helped them and they helped us. It's a great relationship. If you're gonna buy from them or buy from anybody, buy local. That's how I always say. Diana keeping us looking fresh. You know, we look good because of it. Look good, feel good. Yeah, we need to buy more shit. That's all I know.
And you know, to be honest, like I've had nothing but a positive experience with working with Steve at Diana. Every either text, Facebook Messenger, message, email, no matter what time of day. I mean, he's on that.
Fucking guy answers you at 2 a.m. It's crazy.
And then this photographer does an amazing job
That
on
guy's
the
kind of an
field,
asshole.
off the
Not gonna lie.
field.
No, Perky does
Kyle,
a great
that's
job.
me. Just so you know,
That's
that is
him.
me.
That's him.
What's
That's
up?
basically
Yeah,
it.
no, Kyle Perkins does a great job. Everybody knows it. Look at that shit. I mean, I bet you that guy is not even doing anything, but he looks cool as fuck doing
He
nothing.
does look hardcore.
Yeah, that shit right there is a little too funky for me. Oh, that's
What? He's
yeah.
like,
I
oh,
don't
because
know.
it's MagFed.
No, I play MagFed just without the scopes and the other bullshit. But you know,
Hey, Brooke, we got to be fair, all right? If you want to
we got to keep
scope
it
on
even.
your,
No, we got to keep it even, dog. Anyways, I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you, Mr. Buckmaster, for being here and sharing your inside thoughts and keeping your language cleaner than mine. On
Doing
our
the
show.
struggle. I was in my
I
head. It
know.
was just like this
Hey,
delay.
see how
I
slowly
saw
was
you
doing-
almost like stutter a little bit, but then Rook literally broke
like,
that seal,
fuck
and then you're
Yeah.
like, all right, it's all.
I was
it's all
super
clean.
jealous. I was like,
Yeah,
ah.
it's a time bomb for me. It's just I can only hold it back so long. Anyways, thank you. Can't wait to play CAX. Everybody, November 7th, please
That is the
register.
cutoff for tickets, November 7th. If you want to play red or blue, if you do not have a ticket by November 7th, your only option is not come, which is going to suck, or play as a civilian, which is still going to be fun, but you're not going to get all the ammo that red. It does not come with ammo.
Yeah.
It comes with the ability to earn ammo with in-game currency,
And there's
which
only
is still
so many
cool.
slots.
It's just very different.
Yeah,
Cool.
and there's
And then
only
the
so many
event is
civilian
December
slots.
7th.
Yeah.
Right.
And then December 7th, guys, that's 7 days.
Yep.
7 days to lock it in, and we can get this fucking ball rolling. I'm excited.
So my last question is going to be, what are the future plans of CAX if everything goes well, goes your way, what you want out of the event?
Okay, here we go. We got enough time for
Uh-oh.
this? I'll try to shorten this up. I have a machine shop inside Glory. It is my passion. I love building new stuff. If I could say CAX tickets are on sale and we sold out, that gives me all of that profit up front, well in advance, to say I'm going to spend this much on new props. I'm going to spend this much on new vehicles. I mean, it's all props and assets. The field itself is getting to a point where it's mostly done. We are adding some more upstairs staircases, but lighter vehicles that are smaller and easier to turn, more playing space. We currently have a guy building us remote detonatable IEDs, which are absolutely wicked, but we're probably going to start selling those as their own product.
Cool.
I don't want to give too much away on that. We've been working on it for a year. The electronics are almost done. They're super badass. Props and differentiating more the roles so that we get the combined arms part more. You get vehicles and engineers, everything being sort of role specific. So
Awesome.
if you play as an engineer, the idea is this: if you play as a role on one faction, you can come back to CAX. If we do 2 a year, which was what we used to do, you could come back to CAX and just play a different role on the same faction and have a completely different time. You could switch factions and have a completely different experience. You could play as a civilian. You play the same event a dozen times, or if you've even come close to seeing all the content that's in the game.
Cool. Awesome.
Love it.
All right, man. Well, I think that does it for the show. Brooke, you got anything?
Nope. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, everybody
you.
that tuned in. And yeah, respect each other, disrespect the enemy. Let's go.
I'm excited for it. It's gonna be a good game.
Hell yeah.
All right,
All right,
guys.
guys. Thank you for this. I appreciate the help.
yeah.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Take it easy, y'all. Hell yeah.